Okay, so the single mother has an ass like an apricot and she can suck a golf ball through a garden hose. Both great assets. But those benefits are completely wiped out by her children. Okay, so the hot 22-year-old is a solid 9 with the body of an adult film star. But at some point, her coke habit will end up putting you both in physical danger. In terms of the, prevailing attitude of a lot of men. So one of the most pervasive themes in this community is that relationships, pardon me, is that relationships are not worth pursuing. Conventional wisdom in this sector of the web is that pursuing a committed relationship with an American woman is an exercise in futility at best, emotional and financial suicide at worst. Now, given my extensive experience with women over the years, I can genuinely say that I do not disagree with the sentiment. I have had many, many relationships during my life, and all of them, with the exception, of course, of the one that I'm currently in, all of them have failed. And as solid as this relationship appears to be, everyone, including myself and my girlfriend, knows that this relationship could end at any time for any reason or no reason at all. Now, whether you're a man who is unplugged or not, really, you guys clearly understand that there are no guarantees in life, least of all with relationships with American women. But even though this is accurate at a very high degree, I think I can safely say that most women, or rather most men in this community, appear to be looking for a risk-free proposition with a female. In other words, they avoid relationship if there is even a little bit of risk. Gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that there will always be a level of risk when you are dealing with persons of the opposite sex. It does not matter what the interaction is about from a sexual standpoint. Everything, gentlemen, from one-night stands, long-term relationships, marriage, there will always be risk when you are dealing with women. If you're watching me right now, you are well aware that today's women want all of the benefits of being in a relationship without any of the costs that come with it. They want the hot guy without women throwing themselves at him. They want the great relationship without having to proactively build trust. They want the high-value man without having to bring anything to the table but PTA, and I'm not talking about the Parent-Teacher Association. They want the man who makes six figures, but then they also want him to be around all the time. We see examples of the unrealistic expectations of females every day. All day, every day. And as much as we talk about their unrealistic expectations, it's time to talk about one of the biggest unrealistic expectations that men who are unplugged have for relationships. And that is the risk-free relationships. Now, you guys know that I have talked extensively about the pros and cons of being in a relationship. Okay? You guys also know that I am a strong advocate for relationships, so long as it's done the right way. Kevin Samuel says this all the time. Men and women were better together. And I wholeheartedly agree. No, this doesn't mean that men need women or need relationships to be fulfilled or content. But when you do have a solid relationship with a woman who both loves and respects you, life is better. Guys, I'm here to tell you all of the success that I've had is great. But enjoying the spoils of my hard work and success is much more fulfilling because I have someone to share it with. No, this doesn't mean that if I weren't in a relationship that I wouldn't still be living an awesome life, because trust and believe, I most certainly would be. But most men, whether they say it out loud or not, would rather be in a relationship than to be single. Yes, the single life is great. It's great smashing 3-4 new girls every month. Trust me when I tell you. Listen, I did it in Vegas for years, and it was a magic fucking carpet ride. But the truth is, most men simply aren't cut out to be womanizers. Not only that, the men who can be womanizers, a lot of the time, they choose not to be simply because there are better things to do than just chase and tail all the time. So when a man consumes this kind of content, when that guy is honest with himself and finally just says, okay, all right, my life would be a little bit better if I had someone to share it with. Well, the very next thought that comes to mind is, but I don't want to risk it. Now, we all know the risks that come with pursuing persons of the opposite sex. There's financial risk, right? There's risk of wasting your time, resources, there's emotional risk, and then of course, your very freedom could be at risk if you pursue the wrong woman, who wouldn't hesitate to hit you with a false EPAR spelled backwards accusation, which will effectively destroy your life. All of these risks are very real. And those risks are the very reason why this channel exists. Gentlemen, I teach men how to identify the kinds of women whose inherent risks outweigh their benefits. If you meet a great looking 28-year-old, right, but she has 2 children and she's never been married, well, my advice would be to use her strictly for sex and nothing else. My advice would be to not commit anything to her outside of your pork and beans. If a hot young 22-year-old is showing interest in you, but also has a nickel a day coke habit, I would give you the same advice. The very, very same advice. It would not matter. Single mothers and drug addicts pose far more risk than their rewards are worth. Okay, so the single mother has an ass like an apricot and she can suck a golf ball through a garden hose. Both great assets. But those benefits are completely wiped out by her children. Okay, so the hot 22-year-old is a solid 9 with the body of an adult film star. But at some point, her coke habit will end up putting you both in physical danger. That is clearly not worth pursuing a relationship for. I don't care how hot she is, guys. Drug addicts are never, ever worth the risk. I speak, unfortunately, from personal experience. But what if you meet a woman who doesn't have any kids, she's not addicted to drugs, and doesn't have any other black flag deal breaker characteristics? What if you actually like being around this woman? What if she treats you with respect and enjoys it? What if she is, dare I say, attractive, but not an insufferable bitch? Well, this is the part where most men in this community would tell me, yeah, but just because she doesn't have any kids or is addicted to drugs doesn't mean she's not going to cheat. Yes, that is exactly correct. There are no guarantees that a woman is ever going that a woman is never going to cheat on you. Then they would tell me, and if she's even a little bit attractive, she's got guys throwing sausage at her from sun up till sundown. Correct. 2 for 2. Most women on the SMV scale from 5 on up, they get hit on almost constantly. And this is both online and offline in their real lives. Another argument against pursuing a relationship with a woman is, yeah, Donovan, but all women are like that. Eventually, her hypergamy is going to kick in and she is going to look for a better offer. Right again. We're batting 1,000 so far. But understand this, and I'll say it again. There is no such thing as a risk-free proposition with a woman. Every woman, even the snowflakes of the world who have low body counts or are even virgin brides, come with risk. Listen, there's no guarantee that a woman with a low body count won't step out on you with another man. There's no guarantee that a virgin bride would never cheat on her husband, even if he was the one who took her virginity. We tell women all the time in this community that if they want the high-value man, they need to accept the risks that come with it. The stepping out on her, younger, hotter women, pursuing him all the time, the demands on his time to stay high value. We are always quick to tell women that if they want a man in demand, then there is a price to be paid, and it's 718% true. Anytime a woman says, I want a high-value man, but if he's going to be sleeping with other women, that's not going to work for me. We always correctly respond with, well, then you'd better lower your standards, sweet cheeks. Then, of course, they always shake their head in disagreement, but it's the truth. If a woman wants to be with a man who either can't or won't exercise options other than her, she's going to have to set her sights a little bit lower and look for a low-caliber guy. Simple math. Now, the dichotomy isn't exactly the same on the male side. Yes, we pay a price for being with women. But when you're, top 20, 30% man, you're not having to make too many concessions. If a woman does not want to be on your program, we tell her to kick fucking rocks because we know that we have options and we will exercise those options if she doesn't want to fall in. So our advantage in terms of the price we pay is that we don't have to make the kinds of concessions that women have to make in order to be with men like us. But we do inherit risk. Every man in a relationship, whether they're married or not, whether they have children or not, he's risking something. Take my relationship, for example. Devin and I, we're not married. We don't have any children. Yes, we've lived together for years, but we do not live in a common law marriage state. So the state can't force that contract on us. And no, the state of Nevada is not a common law marriage state. But just because she can't take half my shit if we split up doesn't mean that there isn't some risk involved with being with her. No, there isn't a financial risk. but there is definitely an emotional risk. She could cheat on me. And even though I'd be just fine without her, if she were to ever step out on me, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it wouldn't crush me. Yes, eventually I would get over it and move on and continue doing what I'm doing. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that I am completely impervious to the emotional body blow that I would take if she were to cheat. And listen, if she wanted to cheat, she could if she wanted to. You guys know Devin is attractive enough to sleep with any man she wants, right? Now, cheating is one thing, but the real skill is getting away with it. It would not be hard for Devin to cheat, but it would be next to impossible for her to actually get away with it, at which point I would kick her ass to the curb, and she knows this. But the fact remains that it would most certainly hurt. That's the risk I am taking with her. I have improved her life in every conceivable way, both on the inside and the outside. She's more clear-headed, she's much more physically attractive than she ever was when we met 6 years ago. Now, with that increased level of physical attraction means an increased number of eyeballs on her, which means an increased amount of potential opportunities to cheat. However, her training and the time she's put in over the past few years mitigate that risk. No, this doesn't guarantee that she would never step out on me. But the measures I have taken since the day we met have helped to mitigate my risk. And that's what this comes down to, guys. It's risk management and mitigation. Listen, if you're worried about a woman taking half your shit if you break up, don't marry her, don't have kids with her, and don't commit to single mothers. If you're concerned about a woman driving you crazy, then don't commit to women who have a history of mental illness. Don't commit to women who are on antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications. Don't commit to women who have neurotic proclivities. If you're the type of guy who's worried about a woman stepping out on you, then don't commit to women who go to bars or clubs. Don't commit to women who travel alone. Don't commit to women who are on social media. Don't commit to women who are on dating apps or travel for work. There are all kinds of things that men are worried about in terms of getting into relationships with women, and these concerns are valid. There's no doubt about that. But as a man, you need to clearly understand that there is no such thing as a risk-free proposition with a woman. Never has been, never will be. If you want a relationship with a woman, then it is incumbent upon you to be discriminatory, be discerning, and pay the fuck attention to the women you are dating. So many men get taken advantage of because they sleepwalk through their relationships. But then they want to turn around and say, relationships aren't worth it. They cry and complain, women are just going to cheat on you and exercise hypergamy. Well, of course they are if you're not paying attention. Of course she's going to cheat on you if you help facilitate the behaviors that are conducive to infidelity. Of course she's going to step out on you if you don't set and enforce boundaries from your first interaction. A lot of you guys out here, let's just go ahead and keep it a stack. A lot of you guys out here are just fucking lazy. A lot of you guys are just fucking lazy. You want the young, hot virgin who's feminine, docile, sweet, submissive, who will never ever cheat, is on perfect girlfriend mode on autopilot. It don't work that way, guys. Not even close. So if you're abandoning relationships because at this time in your life, it's just not worth it right now, cool. You're getting no argument from me. But most of you guys who say, well, I'll never be in a relationship with a woman because it's just way too risky, are just too fucking lazy. You want to be able to just exist while your smoking hot, young, tight, virginal girlfriend is the perfect woman without having to be kept in line, without having to keep your value high. You want there to be positively zero risk, and I'm here to tell you, it's going to be a long wait, fam. Most men who say the juice isn't worth the squeeze, number one, have never had the juice, and number two, don't possess the requisite strength to squeeze the orange. You're the guys who sleepwalk through your relationships. You're the guys who don't ask her the hard questions like, tell me about your relationship with your father. Talk to me about your relationship with your family. What happened in the last place you lived? You guys are the guys who commit to women who take their phones into the bathroom with them. You're the guys who do not set and enforce boundaries from the jump. You're the guys who think you're entitled to women just because you have a cock and balls. But then you're also the guys who scream the loudest from the highest mountaintop. Bitches ain't shit. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. I'm gonna be a player for life. Relationships are a scam. Dealing with women is always going to come with some form of risk, but you can reduce and mitigate that risk if you vet and train women properly, pay the fuck attention, and stand 10 toes down on your principles. at all times. Gentlemen, that takes work, but it reduces the risk. It doesn't eliminate it, and it never will. So if you're the guy looking for a 100% risk-free proposition with a woman, it's going to be a very long wait because that simply does not exist. If you're staying away from women because you're lazy, then look, just keep it real with yourself and say, look, I'm not interested in doing the work it takes to build and cultivate a good relationship with a woman. Guess what? You will get zero judgment from me. You'll get zero judgment from me. Listen, man, women are hard to deal with these days. Most women who are honest with themselves and other people are men who have my respect regardless of their stance on any given topic. But do not be the guy who acts like he could deal with women if he wanted to, but chooses not to because the juice isn't worth the squeeze. The juice isn't worth the squeeze because you're not strong enough to squeeze the orange.